All right, good morning, guys. Welcome back. Let's have a quick catch up on the market, go through our setups, and we'll get ready for trading. The DAX, Tian's going to lead for us this morning. Sam and I are just going to run through the setups very quickly and just see where we are. We're starting off with the Aussie, the yearly high-low, weekly candle, a little bit green. So we've had quite a bounce, and we'll look at that in a smaller time frame just now. I know some of the guys are talking about the Aussie on the group. It's a little bit choppy. The markets have been choppy. We've had a huge bounce. And just look at these weekly candles. Look at the long weeks and tails, and especially on the Dow, we'll see that as well. We're on the Aussie, above that 100 level, above that 100. We're aiming for that 127. These levels are valid for the year. The trend is clearly up, green above red above blue, and the stochastic starting to come back towards that 89. Look at when we bounced here between the 89 and the 77 level on the stochastic above our own signal line. We had this uptrend. And get the stochastic above that 89. I want to be long. I want to stay long until we get at least to that 127. Just bear in mind that these are weekly candles. It does take time. Stochastic, everything else telling me the trend is up. The day.
All right, so here on the Aussie end of day, we've traded just above that 61.8 on our way to that 77. We have broken above our consolidation zone, meaning that according to our strategy, we want to be looking at the longs up to that 89. Currently, resistance is at 77, so we just watch it as we push against that level. And also, we do have our 821 having crossed up, indicating that on the daily picture, the trend has started to change. And if we look at our stochastic as well, we're about to break up through our signal line. So that's another further indication. So everything is starting to turn around to the top side. We have that 89 as a target, and just watch out for that 77 as the resistance.
Absolutely. And this is also, I mean, if you look at this fib, it's obviously our monthly high-low new levels, but it's also ABC bigger price fib here. So we've got 0AB. Watch for that. We've broken the 61% retracement. 77 is our next one. So at the resistance there, but we'll look at that ABC chart in a sec. These are weekly high-low. So the levels valid for the week. Struggled yesterday. We had these long candles on the hourly, just around the 8 moving average, and just sort of respecting that 127. With the gap this morning, we closed above 127 now. We just got a new candle about 10 minutes ago. So we can change this now. Candle closed below the 127. We can start aiming for the 100 as a target level. But we still have an outstanding target of the 161, obviously, for the longs. Those below this level, stop your entry for this trade. This has been taken about a day or so. As I said yesterday, it was quite sideways. Big candles, but very, very sideways. Hourly, telling me the trend is up. We're above 50. Red is above green, and we're trading above the 89 on the stochastic. Everything telling me to stay long. All I've got is levels for shorts at the moment, and the possibility that we're going to close this gap from this morning. And if we jump straight to that ABC, you'll see there it is. So we've got a nice A, possible B. So we had that nice ABC in red with extended target. And we're looking for that B now. Break of these levels cannot be B. We're looking for double tops and then extension for fail. And surely we're going to see 70,000 from there. This can be very strong and usually quite complicated. So if this is a little bit sideways like it was yesterday and continues, nice little B, we're going to start looking for that retracement. So I've got nothing on the 5 minutes at the moment. We've reached all of those targets. We've got to wait for this retracement. So we need a little ABC down, firstly in the green, then in the red, before start getting excited about those that C target. So we're going to watch the stochastic. So when we're heading towards ABC targets, what we need to look for is a moving average crossover to the downside, because this is a possible ABC. Down in the bigger picture, stochastic down through 50, and we're going to watch that 50 moving average quite clearly. On the 5 minutes.
On the 5 minute daily high low, here we are trading just above the, below that 100. Sort of difficult to do, above it, below it, yeah, on that basically. So I'd say support really is that 89 at the moment, and then resistance is 100. On this though, we did open up above that 100, so we're actually looking for a trigger short short below that to the 77 and 61.8. On the 5 minutes, we have broken up above it and broken that previous candle high, meaning technically we did get a trigger long there. So we just need to watch out. As it is on the 5 minutes, 8 is above 21, above 50. So the trend is indicating that it is to the top side, and stochastic is above its own signal line. So looking at that long, we can take that trigger to that 127 and 161.8. Just watch out for that one.
Yeah, for sure. So possibility of us closing this gap if we can hit that 61.8. I've moved my short just below the 38.2 here, but you're quite right. Our trigger for a short was around here. And then it just pulled back. So it virtually stopped out and then triggered again. So for myself, I'm looking at that. And I think this is what the guys are talking about on the little bit choppy on the Aussie. Very strong possibility we're in to close this gap. We know that we close gaps, but that doesn't have to happen in the same day. We can just look at this. And this was on Monday. That gap just about closed late in the afternoon. So we're going to see if that's going to happen. At the moment, really just levels, but as you said, the trend is up. We've got nothing on the ABCs on 5 minute, as I said. On the DAX, there's our weekly high low, or a yearly high low rather, so weekly candles. And still a little bit consolidated. We've really had nothing to chase here in terms of targets. We're between that 89 and the 61. We have been for virtually this year. We didn't quite respect the 50. We didn't look for longs above the 61.8. So only longs above the 100, short below the consolidation area, below that 38. A little bit sideways, and that 50 moving average has now been quite strong support for the last few weeks of last year and the first few weeks of this year. The trend, difficult to identify as well. Look at that, green is slightly above red. We are above the 50 moving average, but it's also just because this candle for this week started to turn a little bit with that upward movement of yesterday, Tuesday. Here's our daily picture.
Right, on daily high low here, well, weekly, monthly high low, daily candle picture. We're still inside our consolidation. Here, resistance is the 61.8 and support is the 50. So if we do get a break above that 61, we can look at the target of 77 and 89. 89 ultimately being our target. At the moment, it is that 50 moving average that is holding us down there, as well as a 61 of our monthly high low. Break above that 50, we can actually definitely look a little bit more of those longs. 8 is below 21 at the moment. However, it has started to cross up. It's pointing up quite nice with that positive gradient and catching up to that 21 moving average very quickly as it is. Right now, stochastic also is it's on the signal line, so it hasn't quite broken at the moment. They're sort of literally on top of each other at the moment there. But if we can get a break above that signal line and above that 61.8, that'll be a nice confirmation that the trend has changed to the top side. So just kind of waiting at the moment, really, for the trend. You know, we can't really say whether the trend is up. Can't really say the trend is down. It's sort of a bit neutral. And you know, especially once we get the FTSE open and the rest of Europe to open, we should get that push that we're looking for.
This consolidation can be very strong. It's also similar to the Aussie there on the ABCs. We've got a trend, perfect 61% replacement, so possibility of A, B for C down. If that happens, geez, we've got quite some distance to go. Towards is 161 even. Just do this quickly as a target level, so we can just see trend replacement, possibility of that trend all the way towards that 161. So all we can do, as Sam said, is to just give it a little bit of time and see. Clear high low. We still got targets outstanding here. We got that trigger. It wasn't a great risk to reward. In fact, it actually really only triggered around here when we broke those highs. But these levels, of course, are still valid for targets, 127, 161, outstanding for the longs for the week. Otherwise, if we're going to turn around and close below the 100, we're aiming for that 61. The trend clearly up on the hourly, above red, above the 50 moving average. Just watch the stochastic. Signal line's quite high, above that 89. We're starting to break it and come off. If we get the follow through and a break of the 80 level, generally we go back to the 50 moving average. We'll keep an eye on that as we go along. 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minute daily high and low. Here we are busy trading between the 77 and the 89 at the moment. No triggers yet this morning. Have been fairly flat. except for that little push down a moment ago. So we're still looking for possible longs above the 100 to that 127 and 161.8. Need a candle close, very previous candle high for that. At the moment on the 5 minutes though, the trend is down. 8 is below 21, below the 50. Price is trading below the 50. Our stochastic is trading below its own signal line, and it's also trading below the 50 level. So across the board, everything is indicating that the trend is down at the moment. We also had a little bit of a double top there at the 100 of the daily. And if we look at the 5 minute grid earlier, which is basically the same as yesterday's daily, we can see a very clear ABC up there, ending in double top, finding resistance at this 100. So I'm actually looking more for the shorts at the moment, and that will only be below 38.2. So we're going to have to push down quite a bit before we can actually get that short. I think let me just measure here. It's about 100 points on the DAX before we actually get that trigger short. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit, but if we can close very previous candle low 38.2, we can look at that short first target 23.6 and final target 11. That will also take us below the 100 of the weekly high low, which could be the sort of the beginning stages of quite a nice push.
Sure. And let's just opening range we'll get to in a second. Let's quickly catch up with the diamond tech just to see where we are, and then we're going to get going. Minutes for opening there of the UK. On the yearly high lows, our weekly candles here, looking resistance of the 77. We're still aiming for that 89 the target level from this. So we expected that perfectly last week, and then started pushing up here. Broken the 50 moving average. So then a couple of days ago, or at least Friday last week, looked like this is crossing over and we're below that 50. That's starting to uncross itself against the stochastic, also pointing up. Signal line still way up there, so previously on the stochastic, we can just see that market is starting to push up at least towards that target level. Remember that these levels are valid for the year, so a little bit iffy if we look at the trend at the moment. The daily picture.
Monthly high low one, just like the DAX, we are trading 61 and 38.2. So right now support is at 50 level at least, resistance is at 61.8, and above that 61 we can look chasing the longs to the 89. We are also still trading below the 50 moving average at the moment. That's going to be that's just above our 61.8, and that's going to be big resistance upside as we push up above that level. 821 is getting very close to crossover as well, started turning around, hasn't quite crossed over yet, but they are catching up to each other very quickly. Stochastic has broken its own signal line trading above the 50, so this is definitely becoming very clear that the trend is changing to the top side. So I'd like to just wait for the break of the 50 moving average and then look at that 77.89 as targets.
And that's all three of these markets that we've looked at so far, and we'll see it on the US tech as well. We can just see our bigger ABCs quite nicely with this monthly high low, helping us to find those levels. So we're scared of the 61.8, higher the consolidation. That's then tracement possibility of that. Obviously, that can't be. We're going to look at that chart in a sec. The weekly high low, we still got our standing target of the 161. We're just above the 127. If we close below that 127, we can aim back towards that 100. The trend is clearly up. And again, look at the stochastic. As long as it stays above 89, we want to remain long. Look at that nice trend of yesterday. Stochastic on the hourly stayed around this 89 level. The signal line as well. Same will apply. With that being so high, stochastic break of that, just down through the 80 quite often, we go back to the 50 moving average. We have not respected that 50 moving average since Friday. We all know at some stage we catch up with that. Whether it catches up and we go sideways or we push back to that 50 moving average. Saying that, we still have outstanding target. Now we'll get to in a second. There's our ABC. So what we're scared of, yeah. Can you see this trend line coming down from those highs? So there's our little trend, basement, and then possible trend again, and the bigger degree we can see that for this little ABC we've reached targets. And let's just do this very quickly, and we'll pick this fib up and extended targets. Okay. So we still got a little bit of a distance to go, very close to that first extended target. There's our second extended target, but this is what's holding us at the moment, is that top trend line coming down and very, very close to channel target there, and 61% retracement of that whole move. 5 minutes.
All right, so on the daily high low. So I can just find that chart here. There we go. We are trading between that 100 and that 89, sort of on that 89 at the moment. It's above it, below it, above it, below it. So what I'm looking at is above that 100 is a trigger long. If I just take a look here, 5 minutes. I think we did get that trigger. You know, we had that close break, previous candle high, and then sort of in that candle, that was exactly when we started pulling back there. So we have technically triggered long here on our daily high low. Just watch the stop for that is the 77. So on the 77, that will be our stop loss. So we can't really say there's any shorts coming up until we actually break that 38.2. Below the 38.2, we have first target 23 and final target 11. For now, 821 has crossed over. Price has broken down to the 50. Very similar to the DAX, we basically found strong resistance at that 100 and we're bouncing off that level. Our moving averages all bunched up sort of around that 8900 area. And now we're starting to pull back. And if we can get a decent run to the downside, we can start fanning out once again, especially on our zone moving averages.
For sure. Opening range we'll post in a little bit. Let's just quickly see where we are on the NASDAQ and then we'll get started. So on the weekly picture, a yearly high low. And why I want to look at this is look at this green candle this week. We've broken out of consolidation now. So we're aiming for that 89. Below the consolidation, we want to be short to the 11. We're starting to push up. Trend is still down according to moving averages, green below red, and stochastic came into the consolidation area and turned around to 50. It's broken out of the 61 as well. So look at how our stochastic is talking our consolidation area on price action, breaking up through the 61.8 as we're breaking the 61.8 there. So target level there, although we do have a downtrend still currently there. On the daily picture, monthly high low.
All right, we're trading, trading between that 50 and 61.8. That is our resistance, exactly like the Dow and the NASDAQ. 8 is coming up to the, Dow and the DAX and the Aussie. You know, that 8 is starting to come up to that 21, getting very close to that crossover. We have that 50 moving average just a little bit above the 61.8, massive resistance coming up. Stochastic is breaking, has already broken signal line quite nicely. So that is indicating that the trend is already started to change to the top side. And just like all those other markets, when you watch for that possible ABC down. So above 61, I'm looking at the 77, 89% retracement. And that 50 moving average, that's all the real resistance to the top side. And if we do break that 61, we can actually look at those targets. For now, we are trading just above the 50. So the next target really is actually the 61.8. And only above that will I really look at chasing the longs. So for now, as we are in our consolidation zone, it can still go either way. It doesn't have to go up to that 77, that 89. We could even turn around, today. So while we're in consolidation, I'd rather just be cautious.
Yeah, and huge levels there, hey, massive ranges on that frame. There's the interesting one. Pat and I were looking at this market, and especially the ranges last night when we were done. Very, very close to this 161 target on the weekly high low. That's last standing, but it's so very close there. We've only got shorts below the 127. Unless we get a close above this 161, we'll start looking at short below this 161 back to the 127. Strong trend up and similar to the Dow. As long as the stochastic stays above the 89, we want to remain long yet, at least to that target level. I've got nothing else for longs unless we look at the strategies here. The ABCs, and then the same story as Sam said, we've broken even the channel line, targets there. And once again, we're just going to do that. Pick that up. And look at that. So second extended target there on the ABC is very, very close to that 161 target of weekly high low, so around that 15,200 level. That's outstanding. There's no rule that says we have to go to second extended targets. We're between that that first extended target and second extended target. In fact, we've broken that 23. So very, very good chance we can still see that 11 there. On the 5-minute indices, I haven't really got anything. We need to start looking for a turnaround before we can measure anything. We've reached all extended targets on that. It's our daily high low.
All right, we're trading just above that 100. If I'm not mistaken, we did get that triggered long above 100 early hours of this morning. So that trade is still in play. First target 127, final target 161.8. If we do start turning around from here, we can look at a possible trigger short below the 100. First target 77 and final target 61.8. On that, stochastic has broken down through its signal line, starting to push down, indicating a first sign of change in trend. 821 has also started going a bit flat and it's getting very close to a crossover. So what I'd like to see is firstly that 821 crossover, and then I'd like to see price start trading below the 50 moving average, and then a bit later 21 crossing down through the 50 just to confirm. And if that can happen, especially if we can just get price to close below the 50 by the time we get back to that 100, I'd be quite keen to take that short down to 61.8.
Sure, and that's our story, guys. I'm going to hand over to it's just hit 10 o'clock, so we've just opened. As we're just waiting for the first couple of candles of volatility to go through, we can just run through the 1-minute setups. I'm just going to put the sound off so we don't get an echo. First range is cool. Thanks. Okay, so unmuted. Awesome. Okay, cool. So on the left-hand side here, we do have that 1-minute grid. Just going to trail that for now to that new low that we had on opening. Look on the stochastic, we hit the 100 there. That I have at 6:31 platform time, and my low is currently now at 8:00 platform time. Look here on the 5-minute grid. So my low is currently at that 1:55 platform time. There we hit stochastic 0. If you look on the high, so the high was where we hit 100, became very close, was 19:30 last night, and then it just went up and I trailed it up to that. My high now is the 6:30 platform time. Yeah, you can see there that top level there. Awesome. Cool. 5-minute trend I see here is down. 1-minute trend has just crossed to the upside. Got that little stochastic up to 50 there. Just waiting till it settles down a bit before we look at some trades. Yeah. Might be going back to that opening price there, that green line I have there on the 5 minutes. That's opening price for the day. See there. Just waiting patiently for that signal line to cross above that 50, above that 56 at least, to looking for some more trigger short. That's the stochastic average 50 is not valid. The signal line is not the correct place.
So looking at 1 minute trend crosses to the downside. That means 21 above 8. And we break that low. So that is a valid trigger on the new system, the trend chaser, because 5-minute trend is also down. Just be careful of this 77 500.
Samuel watch Telegram for us and the triggers and post.
Section. Well, that's the stochastic up through 50. I'd really like to see that signal line at least cross that 44 to the downside, and then stochastic goes up through 50 for that trigger.
But messy on the 1 minute, but the trend of 5 minute is down. We're also starting to get back into zone 1 on the 5 minute. Just want that confirmation, but you're really fighting that 155 moving average for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Just see just want to put a red line for 5 minutes to see the opening on that second candle now, the opening range. Yeah. For it's about 45 points.
Red extension for this, but I've been trying to open that first candle.
Yeah, pushed down, then pushed up, and basically just closed on the doji.
Yeah. Got that channel on the 5 minutes between the 155 and the 50. So quite often what it does, it squeezes and then we break. So let's see if it's going. At the moment, it looks like it wants to go to the downside because we're in zone 1 on its own moving averages.
Also, if you look on the stochastic, so the 5 minute at least, the stochastic is currently below its own signal line, below 38.2. And with the moving averages 8 above 21, you know, it is indicating that the trend is down. Get a nice candle close on the stochastic, so above that 61 at least. Get a push down through the 50. So that is a valid trigger for short. Signal line currently above that 56.
Moving average for 5 minutes sitting around 89 on 5-minute grid. Still around 89 of daily high low as well. So if you want 89 is at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm moving average for 5 minutes as well.
So that's the stochastic down for 50. It's a valid trigger for short. Let's see signal line starting to cross that 61.8 there. Just going to look at where we are when it just before we trigger. We'll let you guys know if I'm going to take it or not. So I really don't want to mess with the grid levels at this moment.
Very big. 6 to 7 points. 10 minutes to 11.
About from 38 to 23. It's about 9 points.
That's our biggest range there.
Yeah. Stochastic getting nice and high right now. Signal line crossed at 61.8.
The stochastic also broke out of consolidation to the upside. Signal line in the right place. So that is the trigger on its own on the stochastic. Resistance at the moment.
See double tops there right now. 1 minute.
There's 50% retracement to that move. It doesn't give us much once again. Pretty much back to the 38.2 on the 1 minute grid. Just a 50% retracement to that move.
Struggling on that double top level there. Little double top. Push above. Very close to moving average crossover on the 5 minutes. Get a moving average crossover in 5 minutes. Indicating trend is up. So that means 8 above 21. And 1 minute is 8 above 21. That is a valid almost set up for the trend chaser. We just need to wait for our high, 2 candle retracement, and put our buy stops on that high.
Yeah, let's see where this candle closes. See if we can get that confirmation. If we can close above the 50 moving average, we'll get that moving average crossover.
Yeah.
Yes, this is right here. We've got 10 minutes to go for open range. Minute to go for the scan of close in 5 minutes.
Sure, 8:21 looks like they're on top of each other right now in 5 minutes.
It's the close green, should be okay for the crossover. Yeah,
There we got the crossover. Okay, so now on the 1 minute, looking to make a high, 2-candle retracement, break of that high, we're long.
on the hourly, the trend is up. We've still got our standing targets, 127, 161. We really want to break the double tops on our 5 minute, break those highs to aim for those outstanding hourly targets. As it stands right now, 1 minute, 5 minute hourly trends all up.
Trigger now on the 1 minute, the gas come through 50. So valid trigger for short. Just keep in mind, it is currently against the 5 minute trend. So if you take it, probably just go for the 5 points. Might be going back to see that 50 moving average again. Got that high there. Just waiting for this candle to close, another candle to close below that high. Put our buy stops in there. Struggling now with that 61.8 level on the 1 minute grid. Just going to put in a little extension clip here. Measure that retracement if we're going back up again. So you got that one candle close below that high. This candle closes below that high. That is a valid setup for trend chase strategy. Okay, there we are. Okay, I'm going to put my buy stop in there, but note, please, that 77 level. That can be a very, very, very strong level. So if this triggers, I'm just going to keep a very tight stop on this. Hits that level, finds resistance there, I'm out. Five. Look at the bigger time frames, no real resistance except for that 77 there. That's in our way. So just keep a very close eye on that. $50 moving average on 5 support. Okay, looking for that stochastic down through 50 on that 38% retracement. Watch out for this 38.2. No real levels of support I can see on the bigger time frames. So let's just watch this. We are currently below that 11 level, struggling with that 22, so moving average. On the separation long, I'll rather sit out of that for now, because the moving average is on 5, also on top of each other. So if you get that separation long, I'll sit out of that. But if you get a stochastic down from 50, I'll definitely take that. On that 38% retracement of that whole move. So moving average is a little bit messy at the moment. The separation busy triggering now. Watch at 89 of the 5 minutes, 61 of the 1 minute grid. Just a little bit up to account for spread. Really like us to see get a nice 50% retracement at least, and then shoot back up through that high there. Because so often then we do go to that 127 level. Trend is up in 5 minutes. Currently back above that 11 zone moving average. Finding that 11 the extension for level of resistance. Just below that 61.8 of the 1 minute grid. Watch that. Leave. Yes, it has taken. Just waiting. For me, this is stop to entry. No, still no real resistance levels on the bigger time frames. So close, just in spread there. Yeah. Out. That's 77. Looking for that possibility of stochastic down through 50. In our fifth candle now of opening range. And there we have our opening range levels. Just going to put them in on the 1 minute chart. So it's from that high, that low. And then just to 50. So trend is up on 5 minute. Really like to see that 11 stochastic at least close below the 44.38.2 and then shoot back up through 50 for that separation. That's a little bit too shallow for me. Well, that one candle close below that high. Looking at the second candle, there we got that close. Just keep in mind, you can put your buy stop above that opening or above that level, but just remember that is the high of opening range. So I'll rather sit that one out. There we have broken those highs. Just going to trail the extension curve. You can just see how strong that 61.8 is of the opening range. Let's see if stochastic tries again down through 50. Currently above that 61.8 opening range. Just remember, guys, candle close above that level, break previous candle high in 5 minutes. So a 5 minute candle close above that level there, break previous candle high, that's a valid trigger on the opening range for long. Just see how that level holds. Watching stochastic down to 50. Got that 2 candle retracement. 1 minute trend is still up, 5 minute trend is still up. Just watch that stochastic down to 50. I'll take that. Chasing that 50 moving average. Otherwise, separation long. Finding support of that 50, the 1 minute grid. Watching that, and I'm short. Oh, got a very bad price there. Yeah, 5 points. Break of that high, I'm out of this current candle.
That's 155 and 5. That's resist support rather. Break that again. I mean, we're just coming back to that. As I said earlier on that, between 50 and 155, which is squeezing.
That finding support of that 89 zone moving average. Let's see where this goes. Break of that high, I'm out. That's the same level as the 38.2 of the extension fib. Also finding support of that 38.2 1 minute grid.
Yeah, we can close below that into the 23. We'll be okay there. Moving averages have crossed now.
On the 1 minute, yeah, moving average, we do have a moving average crossover. Let's see where this candle closed. Just watch that.
44. It's when that followed through down to the 38 now.
Yeah, very like struggling with that 44 now. There.
It's like 155 and 5.
Watching broker 38.2, I'm out. 38.2 there.
So moving average is also starting to cross now. 5 minutes cross again. Downside.
My TP.
There we go. That's a nice chart. Nicely managed.
Also see on the 5 minutes, that's the stochastic breaking down through that 38.2 currently. To get a nice 5 minutes moving average crossover to the downside, and 1 minute is still down. I'm going to put my sell stop at the low of the grid.
I'd like to see this candle close on 5 minutes again. If we can get close below 155, even better.
Because if I put a low sell stop on that low, don't really have any levels of support that's going to hold me, except for that. We should just remember, guys, that is the low of the opening range. Yeah. So if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to keep a very, very tight eye on that. Not really let it run against me. On that 23.6 of the 1 minute grid. I'll just put 11. That's a stochastic up 350. I'd really like to see that signal line at least below the 44. Need to take that trade. Signal line starting to cross 50 now. Stochastic. Got that nice 77% retracement of that whole move.